Frank. What's the weirdest thing you've ever saw in here?
Let me ask you a question, kid. Did you see that movie, Night of the Living Dead?
Hey, we gonna party tonight or what?
Yeah, we are gonna party.
Well, where are we gonna party?
I don't know, somewhere.
Hey, we could go to the park.
Oh, no, we can't. The cops said they'd shoot us if we go back to the park. Yeah, and I ain't in no mood to go tonight.
I like death.
Greetings, ghouls, and welcome to minute 45 of Do You Want to Party, the Movies by Minute podcast for the 1985 groundbreaking horror classic, The Return of the Living Dead. I'm your host, Troy, and joining me today is a fine, upstanding movie enthusiast.
It's Mitchell. Hopefully, you guys haven't gone sick of me just yet.
No, I'm pretty sure that the comments haven't tilted that way yet, so we're good to go.
It is just when people are meeting in the real world and talking about it, like, God damn, I hate that Mitchell. But we're not going to say in the comments because we're going to try and be kind of polite about this.
That's true. That's yeah. You know what? They're being very civil that way. Then, yes, for sure. Yeah.
Yeah, because the internet is well known for its civility.
Yes, exactly. All right. So this particular minute is going to start with the group searching for Tina, and it's going to end with the ambulance arriving. So the pack of six are mostly grouped together a few steps into the Uneeda warehouse. Trash a few paces behind, having found some sort of cloth to cover herself with in an attempt, again, to dry herself off. We hear the continued cry for help from Tina. Chuck is the first to identify her.
That's Tina.
As Casey questions her whereabouts. They all begin looking around, either trying to figure out what to do or where to go. Suicide is the first to react as he focuses on the crying girl's location.
Through that door!
Pointing the way, he runs forward, closely followed by Spider and then the rest of the pack.
Now, this is a very minor thing, but I'm rewatching it as you're describing and seeing because of doing this minute by minute, you're starting to see a lot more finer things in just basic filmmaking. Having the spotlighting on Suicide in the beginning, I didn't even notice Trash at the side.
Yeah,
just because my eyes are focused on him, the lights focus, he's right in the middle. It was just such clear, even though at the second I have paused, she's completely exposed. I am not noticing because I'm so focused on the primary actors of the stage, which will be Suicide and then Spider shortly after.
Yep, exactly. So a guitar riff led music accents the rushed need for this sequence. At the top of the steps, Suicide almost barrels his way down before seeing the missing step. He alerts the others, and he leaps over the opening, landing on the flat open spot where the steps turn. Grabbing the support beam, he rounds himself towards the second set of steps. Behind him, Spider carefully steps over the broken step and quickly turns back to check on the others. We quickly change angles to have an out-of-focus chain across the frame that is slowly moving to the left. Suicide focuses on that, and he takes the last few steps with ease. Spider, now on the turning spot of the steps. Tina's cries of assistance louder as they get closer. A few paces away from the steps, Suicide expresses his confusion of the scene. Back on the plateau, a jaw-dropped Spider stands put, holding his single hand to stop the others from progressing further. Scuzz, the third to reach this point, looks around, but yields to Spider's silent direction. We cut to see what Suicide and the others are seeing, as the taunt chain pulls the double metal doors off the cabinet. From inside, Tina's blood-curdling scream pierces the air. As the doors crash to the ground, we jump back to see Trash has now made it to the upper area, as well as Chuck. Casey's still a step or two up from there, looking over the banister. No one stepping any further down than where Spider stopped them. Suicide turns to follow the direction of the chain to see a large tarp hanging from the ceiling, obstructing his view of the rest of the basement. With anger on his face, he reaches up a single hand and grabs the blocking cloth and whips it to the ground, only to be suddenly faced with the terrifying vision that is Tarman.
And just like the previous minutes, I'm going to turn to the Alan Tropman interview that he gave. He was gracious enough to give me a couple of weeks ago. In this upcoming sequence that you're about to listen to, he talks about the early 80s and working with the Sid and Marty Krofft company, working on puppetry. What was the Sid and Marty Krofft thing that you were involved with? Like, I saw that and I'm like, oh, I'm a kid from the 70s. I was born in 71. So I was very young when that sort of stuff was still on TV and all that sort of thing. So when I saw Sid and Marty Krofft, I'm like, oh, I've got to find out what this is all about. So
Yeah.
it was some sort of like lessons or teach or like a school of some sort?
Well, they felt that this was 1980,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
and they were thinking, I believe at the time that they were getting we're going to have a number of projects coming down the pike that would involve more sort of Muppet style work,
Oh, okay.
as opposed to
The
the
big
big
giant suits and all that. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
yeah, the stuff
Yeah.
that we're doing on Puffin stuff and things like
Right.
that.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
They
yeah.
were getting more into so
Ah.
they needed to get a crop of puppeteers together. They
Okay.
wanted to, and again, at the time, there were not that many ways other than on the job of learning how to do that. There weren't a lot of
Right.
people teaching sort of the
Hmm.
Henson Muppet technique, other than Henson,
Right, right.
you
Yeah.
know. Um, and so they started their own school, basically. It
Okay.
wasn't really a school. It was like a summer-long 8 week, I think it was 8 weeks,
Hmm.
one night a week,
Okay.
they rented a place out by Burbank Airport.
Okay.
Um, and they just did a bunch of stuff, and it was really quite well thought out. They brought in somebody to teach improv one night.
Okay.
They brought in people for music, songs,
Okay.
uh, singing, voice work,
Oh,
all sorts of stuff. And
nice.
but it was all mostly about getting experience
Right.
with the monitor, which
Right, of course, of course.
for
Yeah,
people
yeah,
who
yeah,
have
yeah.
not been puppeteers before, that's the big thing.
Right, right, right.
We always use a monitor. It's a and it's backwards,
Yeah,
when
yeah.
because the camera faces this way,
This
but
way,
you
and you're
face that
looking that. Yeah,
way.
exactly. Yeah, yeah,
So
yeah.
everything's backwards. You go this
You
way and
turn
it goes.
left, the character turns right, sort of thing. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So a lot of that is just sort of
Hmm.
spending time. You have to just sort of create those ruts in your brain so it
Right.
works.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So they did that, and by the end of it, and that was how there were a number of puppeteers who got their start that way,
Okay.
who turned out, to have long careers
Yeah.
in LA.
I could totally see that. Yeah.
Yeah. And I was part of that, although I had been working a little bit before then, but in fact, when I first found out about it, I was like, well, I've already worked as a puppeteer. I had only done the thing in college,
Oh,
you know,
okay.
the letter
Yeah,
people.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
And after that, I was thinking, well, I'm just going to do acting now. But I figured, well, I'm not doing anything else. Maybe if I shake this tree, something will fall out.
Right, right.
So I decided to do this, and thank God I did, because that got me plugged into the whole LA puppeteering world.
Nice. Okay.
So I did a number of shows or specials,
Hmm.
various things that they did. There was a series called Pryor's Place that Richard
Which
Pryor
you're okay, okay. Yeah,
created,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
where he filmed some wraparounds. It was mostly about him as a child.
Oh, I see.
Uh,
Gotcha, gotcha.
yeah, and there were segments that included puppets, a bunch of
Puppets. Gotcha. Okay.
breads in the bakery that talked to each other for some reason. And there were two rats in the sewer. that were like the honeymooners, and I did
All
one.
right.
I did the male rat in that.
Okay.
So yeah, so that was that was the first series I worked on in LA anyway.
Oh,
And then they did what else did I work on? There was, oh yeah, they did a series with Oral Roberts of all things. The
really?
Yeah,
Oh,
it was very unusual. Where I think I was just doing the dog. It was just this dog who
okay.
panted a lot, so I didn't have any dialogue. But there was like this family who always had some kind of a problem, and Oral Roberts would come in and talk to them and minister somehow and solve their problems. And
I
it
guess
was
I can sort of see that, but yeah.
I can't I haven't seen it since there. I can only imagine what it's like.
Yeah,
I don't
yeah.
imagine it's held up well. I'll
No,
put it.
probably not. Probably not. Wow.
Um, so yeah, I did a bunch of work for them in the 80s, and that's what got me started as on my for real on my puppetry track.
Wow.
So then all through the 80s, I was looking for puppetry work. I was looking for
Hmm.
acting work. I was
Yeah.
doing commercials as an actor. I was doing
Hmm.
some TV as an actor. I got Tarman as an actor.
Right, right.
Did other stuff.
So we have a bunch more of Alan Trotman's interview to come up in future episodes of the podcast, and we'll just get right back into it from here as Suicide has just revealed the appearance of Tarman to the group.
Its slime-covered, skull-topped head is its blue, lidless orbs, unblinking, staring, gloopy black mist covering its torso. Without hesitation, it opens its lipless mouth and growls its food source name.
Now, I know he's the tar man,
Yes.
but how does he keep his eyes so moist without having lids? Like, I know he's covered in tar, but like, it's gotta come from somewhere. And like, I am watching him, and like, the top of his skull is kind of lighter than the rest because you're seeing more of his skull than the rest
Yes,
of his
yeah, yeah,
body.
yeah.
So you have the tar, but like, gravity is gonna win some point, and like, his eyes are gonna be awfully dry soon enough. Not even to talk about his tongue still being moist and
Yes,
looking
yeah,
like a human
yeah,
tongue, even
yeah.
though we know it's an actor. But at the same time, it's like very impressive. And I'm like,
Yeah, well, if you take a close-up look, if you look at like hanging pieces like his ears and all that sort of thing, if you look at them,
yeah.
there's like a gel over it. It's like a
Hmm.
whatever the gloopy substance is. I mean, obviously it's some sort of special effects
Yeah,
um
he's glistening.
lubricant and all that sort of thing that they use and all that. But if you look at him, he's got this clear glossiness over his whole
Hmm.
entire body. Now, obviously, like we see his skull cap exposed and all that as the flesh has obviously slid off the top of his head and is now
Yeah.
pooling up around his body, and that's why we get this like liquid sort of like why they
It
call him Tarman is this black ooze
yeah.
that's over him and all that sort of thing.
It
But if you
reminds
look
me, I
at
was gonna say it reminds me of like a ghillie suit, but only from eyebrows down. And
yeah, it
like
does. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
like instead of like fabric that's supposed to
Hmm.
recommend like leaves and that kind of
Yep,
stuff,
yep,
it's goo.
yeah.
But like like that's just kind
No,
of
that
what
is
I'm
true. That is
seeing.
true. Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. Well, I mean, there are remnants of a once costume that obviously this
Mm.
before being exposed to the trioxin uh
Yeah.
was wearing and all that sort of thing. Because when you see his arm, there is a little bit of cloth dangling from it and
Yes.
whatnot. But yeah, again, so yeah, so we got this like clear over top coating
Hmm.
stuff that is flowing down him and all that sort of thing. So obviously his eyes are being lubricated that way. But again, he definitely will not be in this state for very long. I mean, he will be in for a while, but I mean, if he were to continue after this, he probably would more than likely lose more flesh falling off of him.
Because
So
like I imagine he's only been free or in this state for a couple hours so
yeah,
far.
for a couple of hours. Yeah, yeah.
And already eyebrows to the crown of his head. We're seeing the skull.
Hmm.
So at best, he's got eyes for another 3, 4 hours at most.
Well, yeah,
And of
because when we originally saw him in the actual like the opening credits sequence where we see the melting
right.
start and all that sort of thing, he still had a full fleshy face to begin with.
Yes.
It was very mummified looking,
Yep.
but the exposure to the air has obviously reignited the reanimation process and all
Yeah.
that sort of thing, but as well as the years of the decay all of a sudden catching up with it as well. So,
Of course, we are also, arguing on the finer points of eyes existing with the zombie film, even though we have zombies who have been in the grave for how many years coming out and hunting down people with with great precision. We are being very pedantic, but also I'm just like, just your description of his lidless eyes had my brain thinking. But also, god damn those teeth. They are pearly white.
they are pearly white. Yeah, they are very
Oh my
shockingly
God.
white. Yes. Yeah.
Just the contrast.
Mm-hmm.
Like I have a good a still image of him going at the at suicide, and you see his like pink tongue and the bright white teeth against his blackish oil skin. It's only on the screen for a few frames, but
Yeah.
it is a great still.
Well, I also think it goes into contrast with the way it's actually lit, because it's probably the teeth probably aren't that white, but
True.
because they are laying on top of such a dark background that you can't help but see how actually bright they are. Like the whites of his eyes are quite white as well. For that much of an eye exposed, you would see a lot more veiny redness on the sides and all that sort of thing.
You do see some of the redness, but also like in the still, you can see that there's backlighting to it. There's a bulb over Tarman left shoulder, so stage right or stage left. I always forget which is stage left and which is stage right.
Yes,
because audience right.
Yes, that is
that stage right?
No,
it's audience right.
It's no, because it's a mirror. It would be the opposite.
Okay, so stage right is the actor's right.
Yes.
Okay, so it's stage left, audience right.
Yes.
Over that shoulder, we do see a light facing the camera. So you're kind of seeing the glistening coming that way off the character's left side, off his ear. Oh man, but it's interesting with the lighting, especially as we mentioned earlier, with the characters going down below and having a suicide highlighted with it. It's a great technical of it. I'm liking it.
So, like Mitch had actually just mentioned, the Tarman and it's his fully fleshed tongue flaps between its shocking white teeth. And in a flash, it raises its hands, grabbing Suicide by the back of his neck, opening his mouth even wider as it arches his head back. Caught off guard, Suicide is overpowered as the bone and slime appendages of the ghoul topple the punk forward. And like a mousetrap, the top jaw of the monster slams down on the cranium of its unsuspecting victim. The big teeth finding no resistance as it easily penetrates the flesh and effortlessly continues through the skull. We pull back to see the gore creature still holding Suicide by the back of his head. Yet Suicide, his limbs twitching slightly as his frontal lobe gets chewed on. On the steps, now tightly gathered around, Spider, Scuzz, Chuck, Trash, and Casey look on at the horrific event playing out mere feet away from them. Suicide still moaning as his legs begin to buckle under him, his body swaying to one side until the Tarman allows his meal to fall to the ground.
As it is customary for programs like this, to speak about the different cast members as they are introduced within the story. Now, prior to this point, we have definitely talked about James Caron, Tom Matthews, Clu Gallagher, and even a little bit about Don Calfa. However, I have chosen to decide to speak about the cast members in this manner as a memoriam to their character. And as we have just lost Suicide, we shall begin with the sadly short career and info about Mark Ventrini. So Mark Ventrini was born to parents Osvaldo and Carmelina Ventrini on January 10th, 1961, and raised in Illinois. He has two brothers, Ralph Patrick, and a sister, Emily. He attended West Leyden High School, where he played football and wrestled. After graduation, he quickly pursued his acting career. He moved to California in his early 20s and began his acting career. His father owned a sandwich shop in Illinois called Ozzy's. His children, including Mark, often worked there to help out. It is noted that he appeared as a contestant in the February 8th, 1983 episode of The Price is Right, making it up onto the stage and winning prizes in the clock game, but going over in the Showcase Showdown spins. Well, he's perhaps best well known for his roles in Friday the 13th, A New Beginning as Vic, and The Return of the Living Dead as Suicide, both from 1985. His final role was in the movie Out of Sync from 1995. He made several guest appearances on television series like Fantasy Island, Knight Rider, Charles in Charge, Murder, She Wrote, Falcon Crest, and Space Rangers. Sadly, he passed away from leukemia on Valentine's Day, 1996, at age 35. It is also nice to realize that during my research of finding different interviews and such what about from the cast members, when the subject turns around to Mark, everybody has nothing but very fond, very loving memories.
Seizing her moment, Tina leaps from the now exposed cover of the cabinet to make her way towards the steps. She pushes her way past the packed group, still standing stunned and horrified at what's happening to their friend. We then see Suicide sprawled out on the concrete floor, which is painted red with his fresh blood, laying on his front, his body still twitching, as while what's left of his brain continues to be consumed by the beast. Back on the steps, Spider has found a random paint can and angrily hurls it at the thing feasting on their ride.
I gotta say, Spider is such a hero. Doing what the audience would think of, what do you mean? What are you doing? Just watching him do something. And you got Spider here throwing paint cans at the guy like he's Kevin McAllister trying to take out Tarman. I'm like, God damn, Spider, you're a hero on this. Yeah, your friend's already dead, but you're doing what you can.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. He is being the guy looking out for the rest of the team. That is for sure.
Now that I said that, I'm like, is he supposed to be like the audience proxy for this? Or is it just me reading too much into it? I don't think we've really followed him too much up till this point. So I don't think he's supposed to be an audience proxy for it, but maybe I'm just wish fulfillment.
We've had glimmers of this sort of thing already peppered throughout. Like, I mean, he's the one that Trash confesses her fantasy about being killed.
True.
He is the one present when she starts that thing. When Tina discovers what time it is, when she goes to leave the cemetery with the other punks behind, she confides with Spider as what she's going to do, and Spider shows his concern for her by saying, "You go ahead and do that. We'll wait here for you," sort of thing. And then, like you said, in this particular minute here, he's also the one that, like, "Whoa, guys, don't go any further," sort of thing. He's the one that stops the rest of the group from going down into the basement as well. So he's sort of like looking out for everyone. And like, again, when he's the second one down the steps, just before the camera shuts, he turns around to make sure that whoever's coming behind him is aware of
he's mother ducking
well.
them. He's
totally mother ducking him. Yes. Yeah.
He's making sure everyone, he's kind of trying to keep track of everyone, trying to make sure everyone is safe. Like, one person got killed, but he's like, shit, that I got to try and make sure everyone else is okay. Make sure nothing's like, he's looking up the stairs, make sure nothing's sneaking up on them. Because he's realizing we're in danger.
Yeah.
So he's doing everything that the audience would be yelling at the screen of, look out behind you. And he's doing all the stuff.
He's the one that's actually looking out behind it. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So I guess you could say he's a bit of the audience proxy to begin with.
Maybe not or the spirit of the audience or something like that, or because like the proxy is he would know what we would know, I guess, but I might be like
to a point.
Hairs.
Okay, then yes, I guess.
Maybe
I guess
splitting
to a
hairs.
point. Yeah.
But like he's definitely embodying the audience's spirit.
That's true. That's true. All right, so the can violently bounces off the creature's back, rocking it away from its meal. It catches itself on all fours, but fluidly straightens itself upright onto its feet. Its head contorts to look at where the aerial assault came from. It stands itself, and with exaggerated arm movements, it emphasizes its discovery of an additional meal. It jumpstarts the others. Terrified, with only gasps, they quickly ascend the stairwell. Casey first, closely followed by Chuck. Trash is next, but the sheet she was using to cover herself gets snagged on the support beam of the stairs. As Scuzz runs past her, bringing up the rear is Spider, who pushes Trash forward, making her abandon the sheet. We catch Scuzz and Trash rush past the basement stair doorway. Spider's hand grabs it and slams it shut once he's past. He presses himself against it and looks over his shoulder. He cries out to the others about their location.
Where the fuck you going?
He then mentions his plan
Help me find the door!
and then questions the others' intelligence.
Stupid fuckers!
Again, he's being the audience's proxy in a way that, hey, we got a monster. Let's seal him in. Let's make sure we're conscious of, let's not let him sneak up on us. Let's lock him in the freezer or the basement in this case. He's being the clever character that audiences want to see in a movie. And rightfully mocking the rest of the audience, not the audience, sorry, rest of the cast for just doing the dumb shit that we usually see them do.
Exactly, yeah. Now we see outside in the rain, several trees still being drenched. An ambulance with its lights and siren going enters the shot. We track it as it pulls up beside a parked car. The siren shuts off just before a grinding squeak signals the vehicle coming to a halt. Under the partial obstruction of trees, we see the driver's side door open. Now we are once again in the embalming room of the Resurrection Funeral Home. Ernie stands looking at his watch. Nearby, Bert sits keeping watch on his blanket-wrapped, gray-skinned, shivering employees, Frank and Fred, as they are slumped themselves on the small couch. A sudden knock at the back door, and that's where we end this particular minute.
I like how our two guys on the couch, how the more that we keep coming back to them, the more they feel like they're extras in Thriller. They gain more pasty skin, they're bigger bags under his eyes, like they're looking more and more like, not cliche, but what we expect the undead to look like.
Yeah.
And it also kind of justifies why things like The Walking Dead don't use the word zombies, is because we are so entrenched in the terminology and the expectations of it. But when this movie came out, it's only the Romano movies and that kind of a background for it. So they're still confirming the visual dictionary of it in a sense.
But before Mitch gets the bad press mentions, it's Romero, not Romano.
Is it okay? I kept hearing Romano.
I just want to. I mean, it is Romero. It's George A. Romero.
Is it Romero? I kept hearing Romano for so long, but maybe. Anyway, thank you for that.
Raymond.
One.
Everyone loves Raymond.
Yeah, I think his thing is what was permeating my brain.
Yes. Yeah. Again, I know that several times in the early days of this podcast, I kept saying, calling James Cameron, and all that sort of thing, just because it just flows out and all that sort of thing. But for a zombie themed podcast, I think I would have to correct you before the audience corrects you by saying,
no. Fair indeed,
instead of saying, yeah.
I am not 100% expert on this genre, but I do enjoy it.
Yes, yeah.
Oh man, this thing is so good.
Mm-hmm. It's also, and you mentioned the look of Frank and Freddy. It also goes to show that it's a main reason why this movie was shot in as much sequential order as possible, so you could slowly but surely increase the makeup effect on them as they start to get sicker, as they start to get closer to turning and all that sort of thing. So you will see from a couple of minutes ago, they were not as pale. They were sweaty as all hell and all that sort of thing, but now they're getting more gray Their eyes are becoming almost like jaundicely yellow, the eye sockets and all
You
that
see
sort of thing.
bruising on their temples as
Exactly.
well.
Yep. And they are now shivering, sort of thing.
Yeah,
Whereas
both
a
the
couple of minutes,
blankets.
whereas a couple of minutes ago, they were sick to their stomach. They had headaches and all that sort of thing. So yeah.
They even added like a bucket between the knees just because, hey, when someone's sick, they're gonna vomit, so you got to have the bucket there. So like, even though it's not very plot relevant at the moment, it is still a good visual indicator and what you would expect to see in this kind of scene. It's
Well,
so good.
actually, to point out the fact that that's actually a previously used prop, because when earlier in the movie, when Ernie was sitting down after his pant leg had been ripped, and and Bert is going to confess to him the story so far, right? Which we are not privy to, whatever, and all that. The group, the other three men, like gather around Ernie, and what Frank uses to come closer into the situation, he turns that bucket upside down and sits on it, so that
Mhm.
he and Bert are now
A
bookending,
bookend. Is it
bookending,
bookending? Okay.
bookending Ernie. So yeah, so
Oh
it's
yes, I
so
see. On the on
yeah, on
either
opposite sides.
sides.
Yeah, from
Yeah,
the visual shot is one on one side, one on the other, and all
in the
that sort of thing.
middle. Yeah.
Yes, exactly. And he's in the middle. And but it's that bucket that is now currently between his knees that he was sitting on, turned over as an actual stool to be part of that scene. So
I always love that continuity confirmation with these kind of props, as it really shows kind of the world build, the thought in the world building, that these are actual objects within the world and they're going to be used and how humans would interact with them. It really kind of shows the craftsmanship of it. It does like remind me heavily of like animation, where you have to think of every single thing you put in the frame and everything you want to draw or animate for it, and the significance of it, and how it's going to be used later on. Because in animation, you're spending manpower and hours of creating and drawing it. So you have to think about all these things, from like the minor little hand movement or the anything. But for a film, for live action, you can always just say, "Ah, it's just what we had on stage." So it's the thought of it, you're never too sure. Is it
yeah.
planned? Is it
Hmm.
accidental?
Yeah.
Was it put there on purpose during the thought process of it? Um, oh, I can't. Please correct me. Did you say that this was all done on a stage, or there's a
Yes.
stage,
So
right?
basically, yeah, all of our interior scenes are all built in a larger warehouse, are all built within this whole entire thing. So every single thing you see is an actual stage. It is a built, so everything that you see in these scenes are there because of the actual production of the actual show itself. Yeah.
Okay, so each of these items had thought, had planning
Yeah, there
ahead
was a
of it.
reason. There was definitely
So
a reason.
yeah,
Yeah. I mean, there is a
so
lot of set dressing and all that sort of thing used, as you would
yeah, of
expect.
course.
Yes. But yes,
So
a lot of the,
it's potentially the actor's choice to have used the bucket in that sense,
yeah.
but having still within the environment and having it so closely readable
Mhm.
kind of gives it the authenticity or the realness, or
Yeah.
like the how connective, or we can see us as audience in this situation.
Yeah, exactly.
I,
Exactly.
I
Yeah.
of course I've just ranted on for 10 minutes about a fucking bucket, but at the same time, like, it's you're on a podcast about a movie where you only talk about a minute
A
at a
minute at a
time
time.
for
Yeah.
like an
That's, yeah.
hour or so.
Yeah,
So this is kind of what you're
exactly.
signing up for.
Yeah. All right. So over on the commentary track, which again is with writer director Dan O'Bannon and William Stout, who is the production designer. Um, as the movie progresses to the point where a suicide hops down the stairs, Dan O'Bannon begins by saying, "Here we go, down they go." As the moment grows towards the reveal of the punks to Tarman, he, again, Dan O'Bannon, playfully says a long drawn out and punctual with peekaboo once the tarp is pulled down, followed by saying crunch when suicide gets chomped. William Stout adds to it by saying right into the skull. Dan O'Bannon points out how in the sequence that he wanted a fountain of blood, but only got a trickle, but was happy with the amount of blood soaking the floor. After the hit from the paint can, William Stout mentions that nothing stops the Tarman. And as the punks run up the stairs, Dan O'Bannon explains, "There they go." Once the ambulance drives into in the outside shot, William Stout announces, "Here come the paramedics." Dan O'Bannon echoes that statement. So,
yeah, sorry, finish.
Yeah, no, yeah. So except for the little thing about the wanting the spray of blood, these are just two guys sitting down talking back to a movie instead of talking about a movie, which is kind of cool. Which is what you get into when you have watched a movie so many times over and over again, sort of thing. So.
I love these audio commentaries where it feels like the director or cast is like watching it along with you, that they're kind of experiencing it along with us, and they're just kind of like just talking along as if you were watching it with your best friend, and you kind of lean over to make a little joke or a comment. And having the director make those kind of comments it feels kind of nice. And it feels
Yeah, it
kind
is.
of
Yeah,
warm.
yeah. I mean, it makes you enjoy it a little more, knowing that like you said, the people there are enjoying the process. Now, again, the process of a commentary track is to inform the audience with more of what's going on, like some insight to what's going on. Not every commentary track is like that. There are some times when I'm sure you've listened to them where it goes silent for a while, and then all of a sudden someone speaks up and like, "Oh, geez, we've just been watching the movie," sort of thing. Like, which is great to listen to that sort of thing. But yeah.
I think there's like three commentaries that are always my favorite. I always recommend checking out the early Simpsons and the Futurama audio commentaries, as they are so insightful and kind of give you an idea of the thought process when they were making the shows, especially the early Simpsons when Conan O'Brien was one of the writers for it,
Right. Yeah.
and pre him having his own talk show. So having him talk about his experience before he was such a household name,
Mm-hmm.
and his thought process and his writing style, it's very insightful and very his persona that we now associate with his talk show
Right.
is very different from it, and it's shows how much thought and planning goes into everything.
Yeah, for sure. For
And
sure.
for a character that might come off as bumbling and buffoonery, how much planning, how much step by step, and how much intention goes behind it is quite remarkable.
I just want to point out that of commentary tracks that I've listened to, one of my favorite ones is the commentary track to Fight Club. So it's Fincher and Pitt and Norton talking, like sitting in a room together, obviously talking about the movie, what's going on. The actors are questioning the director, like, why did you do this? And he answers and all that sort of thing. And it's very key to what's happening on the screen. Every once in a while, when they aren't saying anything, they actually edit in Helena Bonham Carter, who has insight into her character and all that sort of thing. So while she's not in the room with them, she does at one point talk about her character, and they splice that into the kind of program. So it's kind of neat to actually hear the full cast. Well, not all there. You get insight to characters and insight to making of sort of thing, and it's a very entertaining thing. If that's the sort of thing you want to hear, that's like a fantastic one. Personally, what I've heard and all that sort of thing. Yeah.
Especially if like it's difficult to get all the cast to come in to do the
Oh,
commentary,
for sure. Yeah.
because they're like moving on to the next project or
Mhm.
what have you. So having that little splicing is great.
Yeah.
It just kind of it gives you like another insight into the film process, even if it might not be as deep diving. It could just be them reacting like, I don't remember filming this.
Yeah,
Oh
yeah,
my God.
that's kind of actually there are also some people that have never seen like the full final version of the movie and all
Yeah.
that sort of thing. So when they see like special effects added and all that, they're like, oh, that's why I was wearing that outfit, or that's what that background was originally supposed to look like.
That's why I was supposed to be scared. I just saw a guy
Yeah,
in a
exactly.
checkerboard outfit.
Yeah, I was staring at a tennis ball on a stick. Yeah. According to the script, which is the story and screenplay by Dan O'Bannon, we're using the revised version of from October of 1983, and this is based on a story and screenplay by John Russo, Rudy Rickey, and Russell Steiner. Interior warehouse, night, rain. Tina's voice comes back in a reply, and a distant shout. Tina's voice. Yeah, here. Help me. I'm in the cellar. Oh, God. They break into a run towards the sound of her voice, towards the basement door. They're all yelling at the same time, running over each other's lines. Chuck. Is that Tina? Casey. Is she yelling? What's she yelling about? Meat. Where the fuck is she? Suicide. Through that door. Again, for the purpose of those just tuning in, the script originally has two characters that have changed their names. When I ever mention the name of Meat, we're actually talking about Spider. And anytime I say DD, it actually refers to trash. So just to cover the basis as we go on from here. Interior, basement, night, rain. The punks come thundering down the stairs, taking care to mind the third step from the top. Suicide is in the lead. They hit the bottom of the stairs in time to see the door Tina's hiding behind splinter and give way with a loud cracking and splintering sound as the winch is turned tighter. The winch is being turned by Tarman. The punks stare, not sure what they are seeing. Some kind of dirty, filthy, horrible, rotten suicide. What the fuck? The Tarman turns his hideous head and looks at him. Tarman. Brains. It reaches over, grabs Suicide by the ears, yanks his head down, and bites into the top of his stubbly shaved head. Like eating a melon without slicing it first. Or an egg in a shell. Crack. Suicide screams horribly, but briefly, as his whole body twitches. His arms and legs fly out in the reflex reaction to having a piece bitten out of his brain. The other punks stare in unbelievable horror at what is taking place in front of them. Tina screams and runs out of the closet, past them and up the stairs. She's not waiting around to see what happens. The others stare stupidly as Tarman takes another bite out of Suicide's skull. Chomp. Meat. Fuck! Meat grabs a brick and throws it at Tarman. The brick hits him on the shoulder, knocking him off of it. The Tarman looks up at Meat and the rest of the punks. Tarman, seeing them. More brains! At that, they all bolt for the stairs. Interior warehouse, head of stairs, night, rain. The punks come running out. The last one out, Meat, turns and slams the basement door shut. Meat screams, Help me! By the store! Don't run away! You fuckers! Cut to exterior, mortuary, night, rain. A city ambulance, its emergency lights flashing, pulls up to the mortuary back lot. Two paramedics in raincoats jump out and run in through the rain. Interior, mortuary, embalming room, night, rain. Ernie lets the two paramedics in, brushing rains off themselves. So seeing the actual paramedics don't actually make it into the thing, but we do still kind of end the scene in the mortuary. So we'll just leave it right there and we'll pick up next minute.
It's that transitionary period where
exactly
it's this whole minute is the different worlds kind of colliding with each other. So like we have the warehouse people and the punks meeting up with the introduction of Tarman to the two worlds. Now we're having the warehouse workers interacting with the real world in a moment with the paramedics arriving. So we're having the different spheres starting to collide, and in very shortly we're going to have the outside world now showing up with the police and the attack, and then the military showing up. We're gonna have more. I keep saying this every time I'm on, but the escalating of tension and of all the needs.
Well, that's the thing about this movie too. It is nothing but building tension. Like each step, the coil gets tighter and tighter and tighter, and like it does not let up. And it's not like it allows you to relax from this point on. Like I said, with the analogy of the roller coaster, we are down this first.
Yeah, we're on the
downward, and we're about to hit that first big like upside down loop and all that.
I guess I don't know. Would you agree that with Suicide's death, is this the the first domino of a lot of the action sequences that are kind of taking place, because we've already had a few scenes of it. The first introduction of Tarman, the moving of the body, but is the death of Suicide like the big gore scene that's going to kind of trigger the next following ones?
I would say I would have to say yes, because
Okay.
our main
Of our main
not
core.
the main characters, but a main core of our characters have
Yeah.
now been introduced to the gore that this movie is going to have.
The threat.
Yes. Our original our original three, now four, with Ernie included, have
Yeah.
experienced what could be the horror, but haven't experienced the gore,
Yeah,
because
'cause
the most graphic thing they had was
the weasels.
the half dogs, the half dogs, and then chopping up the body parts.
Yeah.
But that wasn't very gory. It was just
It
disturbing.
wasn't threatening. It was
exactly,
peculiar. It was unusual.
Yeah.
Whereas the punks, they're the ones who have the first direct violence against them.
Exactly. They got the actual visual gore, because
Yeah.
again, Yellow Man is just a yellow skinned naked man running around, not that. But again, obviously threatening.
Not as
yes.
In D&D terms, he would be like a CR1 versus a CR5, like in difficulties. Like the Tarman, he's a bigger threat than
He
say
definitely
the lowly
is.
little
Yes,
kobold of the
yes,
Yellow
exactly.
Man.
Yes, yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Okay,
No, it's a good
cool.
one. I like that. All right.
I was just trying to like my math focused brain right now. I was just trying to think of the hierarchy of risk right now.
So when we do the work print comparison, is when we take the actual original fully shot film. Then they shoot everything that they want and compile all those sequences together. They then use that as the starting blocks, and then edit it down to what we get as the final film. For example, the minute we're currently dealing with goes from minute 46 to 47. But when we look at the work print comparison, it is actually minute 54:05 going to 55:34. So yet again, we have a little bit longer, more footage and all that. So it's a longer take where we see the punks looking for Tina. We watch Suicide point off camera and run forward, unlike in the final version where the shot changes before he starts running. When Tarman calls out, there's no brains to be heard. And Suicide's body wriggling before he falls is a tiny bit longer as well. When Tarman says the more brains line, you barely hear the line being delivered by Alan Trotman from within the actual costume, but you definitely hear the clacking sound of the mask as the jaw closes. We also get a down the stairs shot as Scuzz, Trash, and Spider run up, and when the ambulance stops, we get an extra footage of the paramedics opening the back of the ambulance to retrieve the equipment. Then they head along the pathway to the back entrance of the funeral home. So that would bring us to the end of this particular minute of the movie. Did you have anything else that we might have missed, or anything like that you want to point out there, Mr. Mitch?
I think I've provided enough tangents and side commentary and homework for our listeners as it is.
Exactly.
As I've already told them to listen to the director's commentary of all of the first 9 seasons of Simpsons.
Yep.
All of Futurama.
Mm-hmm.
I think I've done my damage already.
Right. There you go.
No, I feel like a broken record, as I've already said before, that we're now in the downward turn of the film. We are at our arms are up in the air of the roller coaster. We're all screaming right now. We are now seeing the monsters. I am excited to get to the parts of where they're all trapped in like the little chapel area. Is it?
Yep.
Chapel, or is it like that's the correct term?
Yeah.
Okay. When I hear chapel, I think of marriages more than funerals. Even though I feel it's the same kind of
it is the same.
location.
It is the same location. Yes. It's the same kind of location. Yes.
In my mind, the terminology is different.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm like excited for that scene, the eventual turn of our two first victims or warehouse guys. We're getting into like the craziness of it. So I'm excited for the next upcoming episodes.
Yeah.
I keep forgetting that their names are like Suicide and Trash, and I'm like, it is very punk. It makes sense. It is of its time,
Yeah.
but at the same time, I'm just like, all right, it's kind of edgy, guys. So it's unnecessarily edgy. But it's when it came out, so it makes
Yeah,
sense.
exactly. Yeah, well, it's also like an older gentleman writing
Yeah.
younger characters and all that sort of thing, which is something you always run into. I mean, you
Uh,
rarely do have, if you have an older writing staff that
yeah.
are trying to write for younger characters, there is something
Oh,
about it, no matter when it was done, like in the
yeah.
70s, in the 80s, the 90s, the 2000s, whatever, and all that sort of thing. Your
Yeah.
older writing staff trying to write for younger characters, it sometimes just doesn't work out. You can
Yeah.
tell when it seems a little like, oh, they're really pulling at these sort of like things. So, I mean, but again, that being said, names aside, the way that Dan O'Bannon has these
Yes.
characters being the
The
way they are is very,
the essence of the character, their
yeah,
reaction to the environment, it is very true to it. It feels natural.
yeah,
Like we talked about Spider trying to, I gotta protect my friends and trying to
yeah,
take the leadership role of
yeah.
it, even though he might not have, I don't think until that point he was considered the leader of the group. I assume Suicide was, since he was like the first one down the steps. But Spider taking the protective role of it,
Yeah.
there's always a lot of friend groups will have that kind of person, the
Mhm.
mom of the group,
Yeah. Yeah.
essentially. And having that kind of reaction and those kind of people feels authentic.
Yeah. Well, again, like we said earlier, yeah, I would he would be definitely the den mother of the group for
Yeah.
sure. The Suicide, again, when we're first introduced to the group, Suicide's not with them. It isn't until they need a ride is when Suicide gets into the story
Yes.
and all that sort of thing. Obviously, Suicide being the character that he is, he will automatically take a leader role
Yeah.
because of he is the big guy, he is that, and that's why what. But
He
the
reminds
fact,
me of Biff Tanner, kind of from Back to
yeah,
the
he does
Future.
a
Like he
little
has
bit,
that
yeah,
kind of presence
yeah,
to him.
yeah. But again, the fact that this is the Tina character to both
Yes.
Spider and Suicide are their former punk friend Freddy's new girlfriend that is
Yeah.
different from them. But the fact that obviously they're all concerned for Tina when they hear her
Yeah.
screaming all that. They basically all run headlong towards a screaming woman like you don't know
Yeah,
what's going on, right? Which
these
is
are
great.
true punks. They look out for the
Exactly.
people who are threatened, the
Yeah.
people who are in danger. They're here to help
Exactly.
people.
Exactly.
Like that's not what people think when they say punk, but that is the essence of punk.
Exactly, exactly. But when you back up a bit, when we're still in the cemetery and Tina realizes what time it is and is about to leave,
Yeah.
she talks to Spider, and Spider is concerned about her and says, "Hey,
Yeah.
no, you go do what you have to do. We will wait here for you, and then
Yep.
whatnot." So his concern for her as well. Again,
Yeah.
not a character that he's probably known for long because we only for what we know of the backstory of the novelization of
Hmm.
the story of the movie is that it's a recent change that Freddy has done from being a punk to this trying to get on the clean and sober road because
Yeah.
technically this job that he has just gotten is his first actual job since
Yeah. His
straightening out.
I'm putting in heavy finger quotes here for our listeners, but legitimate
Yes.
job.
Yes.
Because even though punks have the reputation or the memory of fuck the system, we're gonna
Yeah.
break it,
Yeah.
but actual philosophy of anarcho capital like anarcho communists is not destroy everything.
Yeah.
It is systems have to prove the legitimacy and their value.
Yep.
And if they prove to be corrupt and if they prove to be bad for the people, they shouldn't exist. It's not we love chaos, all hail chaos, we are the Joker, ha ha ha. It's caring about your community, which is what these people show.
Yeah,
They look
exactly.
out for one another. They are empathetic for one another,
Mhm.
which for a movie that came, sorry, was this early 80 or was it late 90s?
This was 85.
It was
This
85.
was 85. So we're talking middle of the decade, yes.
In our current climate, I think this would be called as a woke film, but I don't think it's very progressive. It's very concerning with it. I'm saying it jokingly. I don't actually
Oh,
think
okay,
that
okay. I was about to say, I'm like, okay, I'm
I
gonna
am being
try and bend
facetious
my.
and
Okay, good.
hating
I am
on
so
people who
glad.
use this word to attack movies
Okay, good,
unjustifiably.
good, good,
I
good.
am
Okay,
not being
all right,
serious.
good. Because I
I
was like, okay, I guess I can sort of
no
bend my brain around. Okay,
no.
I
This
don't
is
have to worry
the
about it. Okay,
commentary on people using woke against empathy.
right. Okay, I see what you're saying. Yeah,
These characters are worrying about their fellow humans.
yeah, 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 for
That's
sure, for sure.
yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Well, also you also got to take in consideration they're not in a major metropolitan city.
Yeah.
They're
Oh,
in Louisville, Kentucky.
oh, it's Kentucky. Okay.
Yeah.
So yeah, I was just saying that my comment was just making fun of
Yes.
the ridiculous people
Yeah.
who will point their finger at the most asinine argument.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But again, this being a small group of probably a very small community of
Yeah.
their kind from Louisville, Kentucky. You're not like
I don't
New
remember a
York
big
City.
punk scene in
You're not
Kentucky.
exactly.
Yeah.
So they are a small group to begin with.
Yeah, they're close knit.
Exactly. All right. So on that note, we're going to wrap up this particular minute of the show. Mr. Mitch, I want to thank you for your input and all that sort of thing. It's been a very informative and entertaining episode.
I appreciate it, all my divergence in topics, but
Yep.
hopefully people found it interesting.
Hopefully they do, because that's what they're going to listen to. I want to thank the audience yet again for coming along on this adventure with me and all that sort of thing. Again, it's always nice to see another number creeping up every week and all that. Hey, people on YouTube, thank you. This is fantastic that you're here. Numbers are extremely high on the YouTube channel, and be sure if anyone's interested in all that sort of thing, please pass this on to anyone else that you think would be interested in this particular movie. If because chances are, if you're a fan of The Return of the Living Dead, there's a chance that you have other friends that are fans of The Return of the Living Dead. So point us in their direction, all that sort of thing. We are still looking to do donations for our upcoming August 16th showing of The Return of the Living Dead in the movie theaters for the 40th anniversary, the actual release date. We will also be recording live in front of that audience a episode of our podcast, the one that you were listening to now. Well, actually, not the one you're listening to now, because that's being recorded all the way back in May, but on the 16th, we will be recording an appropriate episode that will actually be released the actual day of. If you could go to our ko-fi.com/planetgeekpod page, you can put donations in there. Anything that we raise from that will go directly into the rental of the movie theater to help us with that. Check out our show notes for any more information, whatnot. And other than that, I don't have anything else to say. Thank you once again, Mr. Mitch.
Pleasure as always.
Thank you once again, audience. And I have nothing else to say except see you next Wednesday.
You've just been listening to a Planet Geek production of Do You Want to Party? A Movies by Minute podcast of the 1985 The Return of the Living Dead. Please be sure to subscribe, download, comment, share, rate, and review. Be sure to follow us on our social media platforms: Facebook, YouTube, TikTok, Tumblr, or Letterboxd. Search for Planet Geek Productions. X, former Twitter, Instagram, and Blue Sky, search for Planet Geek Pod. Or send us an email to planetgeekpod@gmail.com. Our closing music is provided by Night Chill. See the show notes for more details. Once again, thanks for tuning in, and farewell, fiends.
Okay, here we go. You ready? All right. Suicide focuses on that. And as he takes the last few steps with... Wait, what? Now I know suicide.
This is the same thing you had last
Takes
time.
the last few steps with ease. Oh, yes. Okay. No. Okay.
The
All right.
hierarchy of uh-oh, I guess.
The hierarchy of uh-oh? Okay.
uh-oh, as in,
Yeah.
uh-oh, we're in danger.
Yep.
Uh-oh,
No,
we're being
I understand.
attacked.
Yeah.
Or slime. There might be
Or
slime.
slime. Yeah. Yeah.
For the Canadian listeners.
Yeah. So when we do the workplace,
The work print?
no, the work print, not the workplace. And I actually wrote the word place, so that's why I said place. I'm like, no,
Fair,
it's
fair.
supposed to say work print.
Ron Burgundy moment.
Yes, exactly. Go fuck yourselves.
Fuck you, San Diego.
Fuck you, San Diego. That's it. Yes. Okay. Yes. That's right. Insert where they are located here. Why am I blanking on where the hell?
I'm blanking too. It's a suburb though, right? Because it feels more along the lines of a suburb, not a countryside.
Oh, I don't know why I'm going to do this. Oh, fuck you. Oh, and we've only got few minutes left on the clock.